Hey, my Eggy peeps. It's time for another episode of Fluff and Bud here and now. And I have my friend Fluff here. Say hello, Fluff.
Hello, Fluff.
There you go. Um, I'm going to let the camera system do the editing this time. So when the camera flips, it's not me doing it. It's going to be the AI, believe it or not. So let's see how that goes. But the big thing that we're going to talk about on today's episode is that thing with Eggy that happened in Vermont.
The
And
big
so
thing today is the thing.
that's
And
right.
the thing is, I was going to say, has brought you a new and improved Fluff today. But I don't want to say new and improved. I want to say old and better. Yeah, I can't wait to dive into it because cathartic doesn't even begin to cover it. And in the nearly 2 weeks since we left Vermont, a lot has happened, but nonetheless, it's all been exciting in one way or another. So, and it all kind
Right.
of feels like the energy stems back to just that weekend and what we were part of and what we were doing. So, yeah, let's dive into the thing. I mean, you were the one who tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, you should come to this thing, and I can get you in." So, how did that all come about? Like, how did you become the guy that got people in?
Yeah, great question. So it's all, Dave Balter, the host of the event, and his cronies, they really deserve all the credit. I met Dave at a show. I think it was the night that some new Danny Steinman pin was coming out, and I saw this new face in the orbit of the band that had the credential around his neck. And I thought he was Danny Steinman. So I walked up to him in my, Eggy extrovert mode because outside of Eggy, I'm pretty reserved. And I said, "Hey, are you Danny?" He said, "No, I'm Dave." And I was just like, "Oh, okay, I'm Bud." And we got to talking for a minute, but I had him as Danny in my head. So I saw him at a few more shows after that. Didn't know he was traveling with the band at the time. And yeah, got to talk to him at a few shows. Still called him Dan. I think he might have even had to correct me at one point and say, "It's Dave." Right? It's Dave. Right. And I was just like, Dave's not here. But uh, long and short of it, I think as he rode with the band, he got to see that, we were my wife and I were at a lot of shows and we really loved the band. And I don't still know how the whole event came together, but I do know that I got to know him well enough that he thought of me as a person that might be a good person to be there, and that the people that I knew would be good people to be there too. I think for the first event, he really did want a more curated kind of attendance, you know, and with that said, to anybody that wasn't invited, it's I just sorry, man. I just either somehow didn't get you on the list, or a lot of things going on, life, whatever. But there isn't a single person out there that I know that I didn't want there. So if you didn't get an invite from me, please know that there's only so many hours in a day, and so we
Well, I
missed you.
mean,
But
I can say he definitely went to the right person though in that regard because you, Mr. Mayor of Eddyville, of Trixieeville, as the mayor of Trixieeville, I watch you at shows. I mean, you talk to everybody. You are like you're at a trade show. You're just making connections and setting up future excitement. And I think that for him to say, hey, this is something that we want to get the right people to who else should be there? And I can't thank you enough. And I think that part of it, one of the hardest parts of it was not being able to talk about it leading up, was knowing that ultimately the success of the event hung on the secrecy leading up to it. If we'd have had 1,000 people show up there, it would have thrown the whole thing into chaos and turmoil. It was so perfectly planned, precisely down to the point that I knew, and especially just from past experiences, when you get included in something like that, you keep your head down, you keep your mouth shut, you hope you see all your friends there when the time comes, and you kind of got to do what you got to do. But I think that it's kind of been talked about a little bit, and those who were there have since received some communication from Dave and the people who put it together, that hopefully that won't be the last time we do something like that together. So that's my message to the people who weren't there. Hang on, because hopefully we'll be able to fix that in the future, and no one will be left out coming down the road. So,
Right.
but what a special weekend, and I just have been wondering all along how you got that, kind of close and able to have the role that you did. And then of course we've seen all the drone footage you shot and all the other awesome
Right.
stuff that you did there.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if Dave independently thought of me, or maybe somebody in the band said, "Hey, Bud would be a good guy." I think there were a few of us that were kind of identified as key inviters. My wife and I were lucky enough to have the time to go up there the day before, and got to spend some good time with Dave and his wife Sarah, and their family and friends, and they're the most gracious, kind people. It's literally, as you know, Fluff, this was a goddamn storybook setting, right? Being there the night before and starting to see what was going to happen, I literally, had like tears of joy in my eye, because I knew it was just gonna be so much it was going to exceed everybody's expectations, right? It was just going to blow people's minds when they walked onto this property and saw the level of professionalism and attention to detail that was apparent immediately upon arrival, right?
And you said it exactly right, because I wasn't there 5 minutes before I had it all. I knew that it was going to be something that not a single one of us would ever forget, and that we would all be incredibly grateful for being
Right.
there. Just from, so for those who weren't there and you've seen some pictures, maybe a video or two, we rolled in. You're driving up into the mountains in Vermont. You're basically, you're going to lose your cell signal before you get there. And then you just pull into some
Right.
guy's driveway, and it's a dirt road leading up, and then all of a sudden it opens up, and it was a mini festival. It was a mini
Right.
festival. There's
The
really, on a microcosmic scale,
right.
so perfectly curated. I think a lot of people have heard, it wasn't just that we saw Eggy. We did so much other stuff and had so much other fun that there were a few moments where the concert was almost secondary to the experience, to the fact
Right.
that we had all come together like that in such a magical place with so much excitement and things. And then, on to cherry on top is two sets of Eggy, in which they laid down a historic set. And, just, we could, I know we could talk about it for days. We could talk about the thing.
Yeah. The if you watch the 5 minutes with the judge interview, which is actually like 11, there's tons of drone footage in there of the pre-show. So if anybody wants to see just the footage, they can turn the volume down if they want, but you can see what the farm looked like, and see kind of, I literally flew the drone right up the driveway and brought it up over the property. But you drive in, there's people there waiting to meet you when you park, and then you go to this tent, get your wristband. And how many people were so surprised by the free merch?
Well, the merch, yeah, we have to talk about the merch, because
Yeah.
when we RSVP'd for this, we were asked for a shirt size. I was like, oh, how cool is that? They're going to make some shirts, give them out. Unbelievably nice touch. Shirts. There were posters. There was acid paper. There was it was like,
Blankets. Yeah.
yes.
Right.
That
Right. And
was,
plus there was Eggy. Eggy had good old Nicky P there for the merch too. And so, we were, some places you go, there's no re-entry, right? We're like back to the car to put the merch in, get a cold water or whatever. It was great. And then, so when you get past that merch booth, what do you see? Alpacas on the left, right? A pen of mountain bikes, electric mountain bikes, which God love you, man. You were talk about how that felt riding around on that thing.
well, it started out kind of interesting, because, they say when you haven't done something in a long time, and you try to do it again, what do they say it's like?
It's like
Riding
riding
a
a bike.
bike. So I got on the bike, and I was like, oh, wow, this is different. And, obviously having the motor too. I had a bit of a learning curve, but as soon as I got comfortable on that thing, yeah, I guess I made a little bit of a name for myself that day. didn't get off the thing for probably like 2 hours. I guess a lot of people took them out and went riding up and down the roads in the
Mm,
area and did real mountain biking with them. Not me. I love being at events like that. But one of the things that I struggle with is wanting to be in all the places at one time, with that group of people over there, and then what's happening over there. I know I got to run back to merch really quick. And me and that bike we just became one. It
right.
was not, it was, I just went here and then I had to back over there, pop, pop, pop. My wife likes to tell people the story where I said, "Hey, you want to split an ice cream?" And she's like, "Sure." And I got it and I gave her a taste and I grabbed it and I rode off with it on the bike and ate it by myself. So, but that's the way that day was going. It was just, going with the flow, a million miles an hour, trying to talk to everyone, do everything, and I mean, because that's, on top of that, they fed us not just the ice cream, but there was appetizers, a light dinner.
Yeah,
There
dude,
was a drink. It was endless fun. The kickball game. You had your drone footage actually caught that getting kind of set up a little bit. Your drone footage was great too, and I can't
thanks.
tell you that enough. And I love seeing the little snippets on the other things you're doing. So yeah, I'm
Thanks.
really really glad you had that there.
Right. The food. Okay, so the food. I'm when I'm excited, like I was that day, I don't even think about food or water, right? I'm running around all day long, and I just happened to catch up with you guys when you were over by that giant like charcuterie board thing, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, food I should eat, And the chef came out with pizza, and I was giving him I was like kind of teasing him a little bit, and everything was made on his farm. Like the cheese was made 2 years ago on his farm. The like the sausage that was on the pizza, he's like, yeah, I killed the cow and the pig that went into that. I made the dough yesterday. Like just oh my god, and I took a bite. And it had like this big basil leaf on it and stuff. And I eat, I don't eat McDonald's. I don't eat like total junk, but I like pizza and burgers and stuff. And this was just like the most um, fanciest little slice of pizza I'd ever had, and I was on a lawn party in Vermont. It was amazing. So yeah,
Yeah, and then they brought out lamb later. That was, I mean, again, it was amazing. It was an amazing spread, and I think then the ice cream was amazing, and everything was perfect.
right. Maple creamies.
Uh,
I didn't even know what those were.
I do now. And then there was that other truck that was serving up stuff that I couldn't even pronounce because, like you, I don't go crazy with what I either. I remember you eating that pizza. You thought that was some pretty good pizza. But it was everything was perfect in the moment, and it was, couldn't have been. I think I said the same thing to a lot of people that day. The same sentiment anyway, just that we can talk about putting things together or what if someone did something like this, but not only did they do it, but they did it beyond what everyone's expectations were. They topped them, and
Right.
that's really hard to do. And they deserve all the recognition, Dave and Sarah and everyone else that they worked with to put that together.
Don't
Just
they? Yeah.
ultimate recognition.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I mean, so we haven't even really gotten into all the stuff that happened that day, right? You had the alpacas that people could pet all the time. There was face painting. There was people walking around with adults walking around with like really cool psychedelic stuff on their face. There was tarot cards, right? Which was never a fan. I did it down in I did it like 30 years ago and then did it in Asbury Park a few months ago. And it's kind of a cool thing to do if you've never done it. So that was kind of fun. Um, and what else? What else did they have there?
Well, there was the kickball game. That was
The
you.
kickball game.
Yeah, you were there for that whole thing.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I think there's some drone footage in the judge interview of the beginning of that kickball game, which all of us were saying the same thing. Like, I remember Jeff Gordon, NASCAR driver, went skiing somewhere and everybody lost their mind because they were afraid he was going to get hurt. He was like the top driver, And it made me think of Donnie's out there, like diving for balls and kicking things. And I'm like, oh my God, you can just see it now. But hey, kids got to live their lives, right?
Well, the place was a buzz for a good 4 hours or so before Eggy finally started to play, and then everyone filed over to the hillside and locked in, and then they dropped, the set where they spelled out the Beatmaster 3000, and then with the Onitsuka narration, explain what it was all about. And again, you could talk separately just about the show. There was some beautiful playing in it. There was just really, really great stuff that happened that night. But I really do think, because of the time and effort that went in and just how spectacular the experience was, that the party was the thing that day. The mountains, the vibe, the energy, everything was, I don't like to use the word perfect, but it was. And
It was.
we all left there such a
Yeah.
high.
High as a kite, right? And so, for people that don't know, Fluff and I pretty much have a 24/7 constant dialogue outside of these video cameras. And Fluff, you've expressed to me several times how much that experience meant to you and how much you needed it, really, and it came at such a good time. And so, please take the floor and expound for a few minutes on what you're taking away from that and why that event was so important for you personally.
Well, it's really interesting right now because it's going to all tie into the next thing we're going to talk about. But for really the first half of this entire year, I was in some pretty tough times. Just different things that happened, and emotionally and mentally, I wasn't great. And I know that it's not something that a lot of people are even comfortable talking about, but I've always been pretty open with the fact that, yeah, depression and anxiety run in my family. I've struggled with them. It's just what happens. But there's something about Eggy that heals me to begin with. And there was something about the thing, because it combined Eggy and this amazing bond that the fan base has already formed with each other. And in a absolute storybook setting, as you've said, it was like a cathartic reset, in a way. It was just a reminder that those are the moments that matter and that you should really focus on and put your energy into, and not the stuff that can drag you down as much. But I left there with such a spark. A lot of people did, and I didn't think it was gonna go away for a while, until Tuesday, uh, 48
Pop
hours
the
later,
balloon. Yeah,
when the
pop the
band told
balloon.
us that I wasn't the only one who'd been struggling with some issues, in the recent past. Our dear friend Mike, as everyone now is aware, has taken some time to step away from the band to deal with some stuff. And I kind of had to do the same thing. We put this on the shelf for a little while so I could just figure stuff out. And so glad to be back, and glad we could sit here and be honest and upfront about, this is real, this is what happens, and if you acknowledge it and deal with it, you can get through it.
Right, right. I've never had friends like I've had since I met Eggy, and so I do feel like I have people that I can count on to talk to, and I think that like personifies really what the band is all about. And let's not kid ourselves. Let's face it, it's show business. That could just be a very organized, well put together, well thought out front. But I don't think so after getting to know the guys, that they really are about the the spirit of that time, that golden age, 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago, when community and people and friends really were a lot more of what you did in a day instead of looking down at a 4-inch screen. So, that event to me personified really what they were about too. No half-assing it, at least not in front of anybody. You didn't see, there was no shortcuts, right? There was nothing but consummate professionalism at every turn on that farm that day.
Yeah.
And that's what the band represents to me too. They set a standard that the farm met. They like kind of converged in this perfect like setting of high standards. So yeah, it was pretty healing for a lot of people, I think, and myself included.
And then I think the environment allowed that, and I think that, again, the kudos goes out to the people who put it together, because events like that can go sideways so easily, or not, or how it was just so flawless that everyone didn't have to have a care in the world,
Right.
for an afternoon and an evening. And you can't get that feeling right now very much, no matter where you are and how hard you try. So yeah, it
So
was
true.
so
Looking
needed.
at you, Rochester.
Yeah. Well, that's just the thing. So, they were all there. We were all there with them. Donnie actually kind of spoke a little bit about some things before the show ended that maybe foretold what we were about to be going through. But nonetheless, 2 days later, Mike had to step away for a little bit, and then just a few days after that, they started this run with Mo. So the show must go on, and I think that's what we should talk about is just how that run's gone. You mentioned Rochester, and boy, do you have a tale to tell. And but they have been playing now for what, a week and a half or so, or a little over a week. Opening for Mo, a Midwest little run, not huge. I think it was 9 dates, maybe 10 total.
Right.
I've been to one, you've been to one already. I've got a couple more lined up. You were in Rochester last weekend. Tell me about that.
Sure. So the Rochester experience outside of the concert was effing horrible. It was out of 100 plus, not teetotaling, but over 100 shows we've been to. We've been from Albuquerque to Idaho to
Tehachapi to Omaha.
Thank you very much. Right. Yeah. We've been in the deep South and all these places all over the country. And Rochester seemed like, upstate New York. It'll just be another town like Worcester we have here in Massachusetts. And no, man, it was.
I wanted to bring it up because I know that everyone has a horror story from a tour or a trip they took to see a band. And if you think you had a bad run, meet my friend Bud.
Right. I'm happy, man. We've got a lot of miles under us, knock on wood, and we haven't had really anything bad happen. So, but yeah, the fest experience, not for me, not for us.
Well, speaking of crazy maniac stuff, I did the same thing when all this news about Mike happened. I added 2 shows to my schedule just to, again, like you said, make sure I was in their eye line and they knew that doesn't matter. But, we're all in this together and I'm right here no matter what. So we did Paw the day before you did Rochester, which was an interesting venue. It was packed. I mean, it's one of the bigger crowds I've seen Eggy play to in a while. Summer outdoors. It's a winery in upstate Michigan, and it was just a great time. But we had some rough travel incidents too that day, and I was just starting to kind of let them settle in, and then your journey only had just begun. And boy, following you through that I did not envy you, and I felt so bad. And you kind of sometimes things are, you just want to reach out and like grab your friend, just pluck them out, and just be like, just getting you out of there, man. This is over, But I also knew you'd get through. Consummate professional.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, and I was leaning on you guys for like the what the fucks, like tired of looking up at the sky and asking for a break. Nothing could go right on that trip. But in retrospect, like I said, if the worst thing that happens is we got to drive around with no window for a few days, then I'm going to count us lucky. But could I have handled that without Vermont in between? I don't know. I whipped myself up pretty good at one point, yeah. So
it's stressful out on the road. It is.
but we have that touchstone, to go back to with Vermont. I think that, and I think you touched on it, not to reuse the word, but that it's probably not the last one.
Yeah.
So I think this could be the beginning of how Eggy headlines their own festival.
Well, they should, and I can't wait for the day it happens and everyone can go who wants.
And take everything that they've learned from the so many festivals that they've done and fix all the mistakes and make it their own thing that is a good experience for all the artists that are coming up under them now.
For sure.
Let them they can be the new leaders in a lot of ways, so yeah, I mean, we really are. I think we're on probably 30 minutes almost now. I will cut a little bit out, but we probably should be wrapping it up, believe it or not.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was going to say I just wanted to talk a little bit more about the Mo tour, because I think it's worth saying that, without Mike, they've been playing as a trio for all of these shows. And so what does that mean? Well, that means we've gotten a lot of acoustic Jake, and that's something I'll take any day of the week. And it really starts to make me wonder, is there an Eggy song that can't be played acoustic? Because no matter what they do, they rip it. No matter how they're playing it, it's perfect. And so, like I love that they can just adapt and do this. And they even drop new material. We got Let Me Let Go. We got a new song right in the middle of all this. They're only doing a lot of nights 45 minutes opening for
Yeah.
Mo. You got the hour. I think they did a little
Yep.
longer than that in Wisconsin. But yeah, I mean, they really have shown consummate professionalism, the ability to just, take all the love that they've felt from all of us and just push through what's definitely a difficult time, no matter, how much. But I want to say when I referenced earlier that Donnie spoke about some heavy things at the farm, they followed that up with the first time they'd ever done it, Bob Marley's Three Little Birds. And they wanted us to know before anything even went down that every little thing is going to be all right.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I
You're right.
appreciate that. And that's the same kind of thing that no matter how rough a trip gets, no matter how rough a tour gets, Eggy's always there to remind us that every little thing is going to be all right. And just keep pushing on and keep loving each other and taking care of each other. And, everything's going to be great. So I got 2 more shows on this run. I'm actually going to go tomorrow night to Fort Wayne, which I added. And then Friday night is Cleveland, which is actually the first time they've headlined a show in Ohio since the Beachland last year with the Blindfold Jam. So been waiting a while for them to come back and, throw down but
when was that Blindfold Jam? Because I just found a picture of Mike with his. I was going through my camera roll and it was out of order, and
it was May of last year. It was, if you remember, the week was May 4th was the homecoming in Connecticut that we drove out for. It was like 2 days off, and then it was Buffalo, Cleveland, Toronto, Cleveland. And yeah, you did that. Yep, now you do. Speaking of stories, right?
Got my passport for that one. Yep.
And I just want to say that Cleveland Friday night will be my 50th time seeing them. So I know you celebrated your 100th earlier this year. Yep. And I will never catch you, but I will never stop chasing you. So there's the one thing. And also to anyone who's still listening, watching, the Hornsby tour coming up in late September, early October is going to be amazing. Eggy's opening for Bruce Hornsby. 2 nights at the Bearsville Theater in Woodstock. The second night is my birthday. Come to the Bearsville Theater in Woodstock, Tuesday night, September 30th. Party with Fluff.
Nice. And and you and I are both the first people to say that, show count doesn't make the fan. It's really about time and opportunity that gets those numbers up there. So, I'm lucky enough to have some time and opportunity, or I would, there's plenty of people out there that are bigger fans than I am, I would say, but I've just been able to get to see them,
I have to say that I think a lot of people use a show count as a flex, but it's never been me. I'm proud of it. Like, I am so passionate about this. This means so much to me in my life that I expend this energy and time and money to go do this. And yeah, it's a symbol. It's just a way to show, like, yes, I'm so proud of myself. Like, if you haven't seen that many, there's reasons, and maybe you don't even want to. And I'm not judging on a number, but I do think it's a cool thing to look at. I do think it's a cool thing to acknowledge. They spoke during the show. It's on Nugs Go Listen to Philly from earlier this year. They shout out Bud's 100th show. It's a significant thing. It should never be used to flex on someone and say you're less of a fan because of your number.
It was also our 37th anniversary that night.
So I forgot. Yes.
And so I wouldn't even have, not sorry, but I wouldn't even have asked them to shout out the 100th. In fact, I didn't. I let CJ know I let CJ know a week or so ahead of time. It looked like it was going to be our 100th show and our 37th anniversary or 38th. Uh-oh, sorry, hon. Then CJ reached out to me to confirm it would be the 100th show. And they never, and then they shouted it out. So it was cool.
And there's also, I want to say, a difference when you hear someone going on about, I've seen 200 Fish shows. Well, that's fantastic. They've been playing shows for 35 years.
Right.
What you've done, and I know when you started, it was right when I started. You've done this in 3 years, and that's really, really impressive. And I'm proud of myself knowing the stress and the anxiety that I can go through for just traveling. And I know that I've even gotten myself out to that many. And, so yeah, we got to just keep pushing. I'm never going to catch you. I'm never going to stop trying.
And on that note, before I left to come here to Studio 2A today, I was thinking about how, maybe what some of the things we were going to talk about and like how Eggy has changed my life, right? And it, kind of sounds a little bit corny, but I may have never left Massachusetts again if not for Eggy. And now my wife and I have got 80,000 miles under us because we haven't flown to any shows. And we've seen the whole country. In St. Louis Arch, Talladega Speedway, just everything you can think of. We've been there, the highest peaks of Colorado, the Four Corners in New Mexico, and Yellowstone, and Mount Rushmore, and, Chicago, New York City, Times Square, everywhere, right? And it's all because of these guys creating a spark in me that was just out. Just out, and I'm living life again because of them, as stupid as it sounds,
No, it's not stupid, and don't ever think that. And I'm right there with you, and my spark was dimming for a while this year alone. Forget about forget about the long past. I mean, I needed more this year, and I got it. And luckily, right now I'm still holding on to it. And I mean, again, being able to go see him again next 2 nights, and then be jumping right back on for a couple of those Hornsby shows. Like, I figured out, like, if I could get a couple of shows in me like every 3 to 4 weeks, then I won't fall too far down, because there's the post glow and then the pre and the preparation, and in the middle there has to be some middle always,
Right.
I mean, that's what they say. That's what they say. I'm, mostly here or there, but they say there should be more. Anyway.
To that point, even if it's a 45-minute set, the streams, when they were streaming out on the West Coast, there was 15 of us, 20 of us that were staying up, till 3 a.m. to see them. And I think we would do the same thing for a 45-minute set right now. So maintaining the connection is huge. But we should probably save some of this for another show.
Well, yeah, I think we've covered the things that we needed to cover, the thing and Mike and the Mo tour. And then I know that he hangs on every word of every podcast we've ever done. So I know he's listening right now. Ha ha ha. Mike. We love you so fucking much, dude. And just can't wait to see you, and know that you're going to be feeling awesome when we do. So can't wait.
Well said. And on that note, if you've made it this far, you are a statistical anomaly, and we thank you for that.
What is wrong with you?
And so, with that said, this is Bud and Fluff.
Thanks, buddy.
Off. You're welcome, man. Signing off from here and now. Peace out.
Good stuff.
Yes, sir. That's it. And so, yeah, that was it. That's where we'll end it, And yeah, we could just
Never how I do, never let the scene choose you. Never met a man since school, couple screws loose. Fuck it cause it match my cool, fuck it cause it match my cool. Tripping like a fool, never let the scene choose you. Never met a man since school, couple screws loose. Fuck it cause it match my cool, fuck it cause it match my cool. Top down.